Hello everyone, welcome to our talk show about the tensions and trends in bilingual education. Today we're going to talk about policies here in Colombia. So for today I have two guests here, two experts, and they are Sara Rojas and Alejandra Carvajal. So I'm so glad that you're here. Let's start with our first part talking about tensions. So Sara, what can you tell us about tensions here in Colombia?
Hi, it is so nice for me to be here and participate in this important discussion. The first tension that I would like to mention is related to native languages in Colombia. After Colombia's independence from Spain 2 centuries ago, the elite in the country started to get books and ideas coming from Europe. This information came in English, in French, or in German. As a result, these languages were associated with enlightened ideas, while indigenous and Creole languages started to be associated with ignorance and underdevelopment. Nowadays, in Colombia, the bilingualism policy is focused on English as a second language, but there is no option or design curricula for learners who prefer to learn a native language or to preserve the one on their community. This is gradually leading to the disappearance of native languages in Colombia, which is a very important topic to discuss.
Okay, this is so interesting, but is there any possibility that we are kind of facing maybe some international or external factors that can influence this?
Well, another tension to consider is related to the external aspects that can influence the design of bilingualism policies. Government officials have faced a record of ineffective policies and also external pressure to adopt languages policies appealing to the international community. In some cases, this is due to economical aspects or politic interests. This has led to the adoption of a worldwide discussion concerning bilingualism. Governments have accepted an European approach for language instruction and implemented international standards and tests that may not respond to the context and learners' real needs.
Okay, Sarah, thank you so much. Alejandra, would you like to add something else about this?
Well, this question is really interesting. I would like to mention that I found a tension that is related to the privilege that bilingualism policies give to a foreign language. This case happened in 1878, in which China favored the expansion of English medium education in order to meet fast developing needs of trade. However, Putonghua, the national language of China, and Cantonese, the regional dialect, were drastically reduced. While this language shift encouraged people of Hong Kong to believe that English was the language of power and prestige, and Chinese was the language of servitude, stigma, and shame.
Okay, interesting. And Alejandra, do you think that maybe one language it's been preferred over the other ones, and why?
Well, here we find a really interesting tension which focuses on one of the policies developed by the National Program of Bilingualism in Colombia. Some academics consider the British language has received an hegemonic role over other languages,
And we are all discussing this in English, right?
which has denied the multilingualism lived in our country. On the other side, some Colombian policies have enhanced the society to perceive the English language as an opportunity to progress and the only way to access to the globalized world.
Okay, and what can you tell us about the dominance of languages?
Well, one last tension may refer to the power dynamics between dominant and non-dominant language speakers in bilingualism, which has been examined through the lens of race, class, and ethnicity. According to Lopez and Seltzer 2016, the experiences of bilingual Latin students in the USA are impacted by their social identities, with dominant language speakers often holding more power and privilege. Identifying power imbalances in bilingual education programs and promoting more equitable practices is crucial for creating inclusive and empowering learning environments for all students.
And what about the Colombian context?
Additionally, if we bring this situation to our Colombian context, we can find many cultures that own a language apart from Spanish. These people may feel isolated because of the difference in terms of culture and language. Education should be oriented to erasing the gaps between both languages and create opportunities for these communities to be fluent in both languages.
Thank you for this great discussion, and thank you to all of you for keep on watching. Please stay tuned to see our second part. Welcome to our second part in this great talk show. We're going to continue talking about tensions and trends in bilingual education, and we also have here our special guests, Sara and Alejandra. So let's continue talking about this. So, is there any effort here in Colombia to preserve indigenous languages?
In Colombia, there is an emerging trend toward language revitalization with efforts focused on preserving the country's indigenous language. This trend focuses on changing an inherent disdain for our native languages, and academics consider that it's necessary to include language preservation initiatives at the community level, as well as new ideas for a multilingual education policy that incorporates indigenous languages in the classroom, creating awareness and the importance of preserving culture and languages as an important part of history and native language diversity right.
Okay, and what about this external pressure that Colombia is facing to create new bilingual policies?
Okay, and I think that one trend that possibly solves the tension between the external pressure to adopt language policies appealing to the international community is to prioritize a context-specific and learner-centered approach to bilingualism policies. According to Garcia, multilingualism is seen as a resource that can help to promote intercultural understanding, social cohesion, and economic development. This approach emphasizes the importance of creating inclusive language policies, including a deep lecture of the context, and beside external pressure, it is necessary that the policy includes linguistic diversity, learners' real needs, and of course promote social justice.
And I think that bilingual policies should also try to preserve our mother tongue. How is that?
Well, here we have to talk about a really important point, and is that the bilingual policies in a country must achieve the balance of the languages encountered. Strengthen communicative skill is L2 and maintain simultaneously the usage of mother tongue. In this case, in the case of China, yes, is identified the subtractive bilingualism, which refers to two languages that compete rather than complementary. Such competition occurs when the minority language is being replaced by dominant languages of the majority group. The trend that I consider seeks to solve the problematic present in China is biculturalism, because both languages are recognized as equal and their culture understanding should result in the achievement of the higher degree of generality which transcends to each individual.
Are there any other policies regarding other languages apart from English, for example, French or even indigenous languages?
Well, after talking about this really interesting tension, a possible trend that may improve one of the policies that comprises the National Bilingualism Program promotes not only the acquisition of English as a second language, but an inclusive bilingual education, adding to the curriculum the teaching to some other languages such as French, ethnic, and sign languages. Moreover, the linguistic policies encompasses an intercultural approach and a monitoring and assessment system.
Fantastic. Is there any trend that is maybe promoting the education of multiculturalism or the study of multiculturalism or multilingualism?
Well, in a Colombian context, the emerging trend of promoting multilingualism and valuing linguistic diversity in language education I think that can be facilitated by adopting a human rights based approach to language policies. This approach recognizes language as a human right and emphasizes the importance of creating inclusive language policies that prioritize learners' needs and respect their linguistic rights. According to Torres Guzman and Morales Lopez, a human right based approach can help to overcome inequalities in language education and promote social justice in bilingual settings.
Okay, in conclusion, I think that we are starting to go into a phase in which Colombia is getting more aware of the importance of multiculturalism, multilingualism, the education in different languages, like, for example, English, which is a very important language for our world, and also other emerging languages like French, German, or even our indigenous ones, which are really important to our culture. Thank you. So thank you so much for this great discussion, and thank you to all of you for stay tuned in this great talk show. So please don't forget to keep on watching our content, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Bye bye.